Hey everyone, welcome back to your Ricky Market Outlook. This is for the 21st of April 2025. Happy Easter to you guys celebrating it. And obviously in Australia, it's still a holiday. So enjoy the long weekend there. And let's get started with what's going on in the market here. So we do have a few fundamentals last week. But again, with the whole tariff issues, a lot of these fundamentals are basically irrelevant or useless at this point in time. Obviously, we have the retail sales number from last month, and we did see a huge spike in that retail sales number. But again, this is not something that's kind of realistic because I think a lot of factors are being skewed here. This is not giving us the right information. This is more or less a skewed data, and we do expect retail sales number for the next 3 months to be, a little bit more skewed here. Again, some people are probably buying before tariffs starts going up in the U.S., so you might see that increase in that retail sales number. So a lot of stock ups are happening here, and that would artificially kind of boost the retail sales number there. All right, Canadian rates there unchanged, 2.75%. ECB cuts interest rate as expected, 25 basis points there. And other than that, Friday, that was Good Friday. So, obviously we have a very short week last week. A lot of volatility in all markets, across all markets there. But yeah, it was pretty quiet week. In terms of volume, we're actually looking at a very low volume, which is something we need to talk about in terms of what's real about the technical side of things this week. All right. Monday, as I said, still a long weekend for a lot of us out there. Australia, New Zealand, Europeans, UK, all of them pretty much a long weekend there, except for the US market. US market kicks off today, so we'll see what happens here. Again, earnings are still going to be there. So we are in the earnings seasons at this point in time. But, again, we're looking at all these earnings and we say, it's kind of irrelevant because we're looking at last quarter's earning. And obviously the whole tariff is pretty much the start of the second quarter of 2025. So, whether or not it's going to have a lot of impact. It's yet to be seen. It's going to move the market, but, something that's probably not going to set in stone. Until all these tariff issues kind of blow off at this point in time. All right, manufacturing PMI numbers, that's going to be on Wednesday across Europe, UK, as well as the US. Again, manufacturing numbers, we're looking at manufacturing numbers to go down a little bit, and it is what it is. Is it going to move the market? It might move the market there. All right, Friday, obviously, we got Anzac Day in Australia, so another holiday for Australia there. UK retail sales number is going to be released on Friday. And also, I think one of the more important data is actually these Michigan consumer sentiment. The final numbers are actually going to be released on Friday. Again, this is something that we actually want to focus on a lot more. This is basically telling us what the market is thinking about the US economy. I think it's very important at this point in time. All right, let's move on to technicals. Let's take a look at gold. I do want to bring this up to your attention. I know some of you guys are trading gold out there. Probably enjoying a good month. If you have enjoyed a good month there, secure your profits from whatever run, maybe pick it up at 2005, 2007, maybe 2000. Time to kind of book your profits at this point in time. Don't, kind of just stay in there doing nothing. Obviously, this is being pushed because of that drop in the US dollar. A lot of confidence lost in the US economy with how Trump goes about with his tariffs, and I think the world basically opens up today and say, look, we're not in a good situation there, and you can see that flow into gold here, obviously reaching all-time high again, 33.85 today. I think this one still has a bit more room to go. I think talks for this one to go up to 3.5, 3.6, even 3,700. But just to give things into perspective, the rally that we saw from last week or from 2 weeks ago, we're actually looking at decreasing volume in this. And if you look at it, I think it's only about 10 to 15% of it being real gold transactions. Other than that, everything else that accounts for gold price movements are either options, CFDs, or contracts. So just keep that in mind. I think this is really very speculative at this point in time. There's a lot of people jumping in on the hype train. So looks to me more like a bull trap at this point in time. Sure, can this one go? Yes, I think there's still room for this one to go. But in terms of how far it can go, again, we're dealing with all-time highs here. We just don't know what the limits are. We can we can do some calculations. We're currently looking at this week maybe reaching 3,500. Might see some profit taking around this level there. But just be a little bit more careful when you're trading gold at this point in time. All right, Aussie USD, we broke higher, right? We finally clear off the bearish order block. But again, this is Monday's run. Volume is actually really low. So the run that we saw today, even though it was a good run in the Asian session today, to keep in mind, the Australian market is actually closed. So whatever's moving this right now, it just doesn't reflect the real volume that we have here. Now, is there room for this one to go higher? I think there's room for this one to go higher. RSI just ticking up above 60 for the first time here, finally, right? And stochastics, I think, we still have a little bit more room to go. But again, at this kind of levels here, we prefer for this one to kind of pull back down a little bit, to kind of test support. But ideally, what we want to see on Monday is that we actually do close above that bearish order block, so we can get rid of that bearish order block, and then we can move on, and then we can look for that retracement. But ideally, on Monday, it stays where it is right now. That push above 64 cents, that needs to be maintained on Monday for any further rally up on Aussie. All right. Euro USD, obviously the biggest winner here, and we can see that rally on the Euro USD. Pretty significant. The past 2 weeks, we saw that rally from 1.09. Once it tested that support at 1.09, we can see this one continues to rally. Finally took out the 2022 high as well as the resistance that was at 1.15. We do see a little bit of a pullback in price at time for recording. Price was pulling back down a little bit. You can see where it was, the high was at 1.1534. At least it clears off that 2022 high resistance there. Again, we want to see that close above 1.15 today on Monday for any sustained move higher. Otherwise, if it doesn't close above 1.15 today on Monday, you might see that pull back down a little bit. You might see price correct itself back down to 1.13, 1.1250, testing 2023 high and resistance again one more time. But yeah, there's room to go for this one here. I think there's still room to go, but divergences are starting to show up. And, considering how the rally has been for the month of March and April, it is a huge run. It's a very huge run. We're talking about 1,200 pips on the rally on the Euro USD the past 2 months. That's pretty significant. And, we need to be a little bit more on the cautious side. Just keep that in mind when you're trading the euros. All right, sterling here, this one's probably the best one. We had 9 days straight of, a continuous rally on the sterling here, but it didn't actually clear off any significant highs. In fact, we were still being capped by 2024 highs there, so around September highs there, about 1.3430. So that's still capping the sterling there. But yeah, I think this is good progress on the sterling here, but it has reached a lot of these extensions levels that we are talking about from that drop, that pullback to 1.27. We have extended one more beyond 127.2 and 161.8%. So just keep an eye out on this one here. We're still being kept by 1.3430. Resistance might come a little bit this week. Might see a little bit of a pullback. Might see a little bit of a technical correction happening on the sterling here. But yeah, it looks bright in terms of where it's going to go in the next month or so on the sterling here. All right, lastly, we have the Dow Japanese yen. This one is the biggest winner here. So, if you guys have been following the reports and outlook that we have posted, and we have been talking about weakness on Dow Japanese yen ever since February. So, if you had that short 154, 152, 150, I think it's time to kind of clear out the positions there. That was a significant drop. We're talking about 14.12 and 10 yens here on the Dow Japanese yen. Are there room for this one to go? Yes, there's room for this one to go, especially around 140. Once we break below 140, next available support wouldn't actually come in at 138. And again, considering how people are losing confidence in the US dollar, so this one here is still actually a keeper. Just to keep in mind, though, you might want to start moving in and locking in profits just in case, because we're dealing with 140 at this point in time, and 140 is obviously the low last year. we could bounce off strongly. We might see a little bit of profit taking happening as well, and that would actually be in line with the movement on the euro and the sterling there. If people start booking their profits, we might see a little bit of a turnaround there, a little bit of a technical correction, but that technical correction could mean 400 pips to 500 pips of pullbacks here on the Dow Japanese. So just keep that in mind. But for now, yeah, from a technical perspective, if you ask me, is there room for this one to go? Yeah, there's still room for this one to go. All right, so be a little bit more careful this week. Market volatility is still going to be there, and I think we are probably going to be in a week where we might get that extreme volatility. I think last week was actually pretty tame in terms of volatility. There are some unique developments in the U.S. stock market as well, so we might bring that volatility into the rest of the market this week. So just keep an eye out, stay safe, and trade carefully. Good luck, and see you soon.